guys, and welcome to another weekly reading vlog. I didn't read any books last week. I started Hollowpox and I DNF'd Ready Player One, but that was it. Last night I finished Hollowpox, The Hunt for Morgan Crow, the third book in the Nevermore series, and I gave it 4 stars. So I gave the first one and the second one 5 stars. This had a very different tone than the first two did. This is a lot darker. This is a lot more exploration into the world and some not great sides of this world. In addition to that, there's some things going on in here that just really hit home with what's going on right now. And it just lent itself to a darker book, and I don't know if that's why I rated it lower and if that's why I enjoyed it less. Nonetheless, I gave it 4 stars. I feel like that's the rating that I'm comfortable with giving this book, and I'm definitely going to continue. Like, 4 stars is not bad, and I'm not saying this is a bad book. It was missing a lot of the whimsy that the first 2 books had. So that's this book. This week, I would really like to read 3 books. My 2 priorities for the week are The Bane Chronicles by Cassandra Clare, Sarah Reese Brennan, and Maureen Johnson, which I think is a collection of short stories, if I am not mistaken. Just I think about Magnus Bane. So I might just read 1 short story a day and see how that goes. So there are 11 short stories and they seem to each be around 50-ish pages. We'll see how this goes. I've heard not fantastic things about this. This will be my first Shadowhunter book that was written by other authors besides her, like to include her obviously, but that I have read, so we'll see. Magnus is such a well-loved character, and he's like has his own sort of personality, and we'll see how I like other people writing him. And I would also like to get through Dig by A.S. King. I'm not quite sure what this is about. I know it's weird. So it says, The Shoveler, the Freak, Can I Help You, Loretta the Flea Circus Ring Mistress, and First Class Malcolm. These are the 5 teenagers lost in the Hemmings family maze of tangled secrets. Only a generation removed from being Pennsylvania potato farmers, Gottfried and Marla Hemmings managed to trade digging spuds for developing subdivisions and now sit atop a $1 million bank account. Wealth they've declined to pass on to their adult children or their teenage grandchildren. Because we want them to thrive, Marla always says. What does thrive look like? Like carrying a snow shovel everywhere, like selling weed at the Arby's drive-thru window, like first-class tickets to Jamaica between cancer treatments, like a flea circus in a trailer park, like the GPS coordinates to a mound of dirt in a New Jersey forest. As the rot just beneath the surface of the Hemmings' suburban respectability begins to spread, the estranged grandchildren gradually find their ways back to one another just in time to uncover the terrible cost of maintaining the family name. This sounds weird, but I'm excited to see how it goes. I have heard mixed things. Either people are like, this is not great, like it's weird, but it's the wrong kind of weird, or people love it. So we'll see how I feel about that. Next week, I would really like to jump into my more like in-depth fantasies and kind of knock those out. I might be shooting myself in the foot trying to read them all in the same week, but we'll see. But yeah, so that is what I'm going to be reading for the week for right now. The ferrets are out, so I'm probably not going to be doing a whole lot of reading for the moment. And then once they are up, I'm probably going to play WoW for the night. So I will talk to you guys once I've started one of the books and I have some thoughts. Guys, sorry for this atrocious lighting. It is Tuesday. I ended up going into work, and then when I got there, my boss was like, just go home because I'm not feeling well. I usually get a cold like around this time every year when the weather changes and gets cold. Last night I started the Bane Chronicles and I got 77 pages in. So I'm on the second story and it's okay. I mean, just from the first story alone, you're getting a different side of Magnus. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but I can definitely tell that this is like different. This is not Cassandra Clare writing this. Like the writing styles are different. You can tell that like the writers are still trying to like kind of mimic and sound like her, but it's different. And I might just be assuming that, I don't know, because each story says it's written by her and someone else, but for all we know, she could have just been, you know, doing them a favor because most of them are smaller than her. So I don't know. I don't know though. It's okay. I'm gonna continue it. Like I said, I'm just gonna read a story at a time. I'm sure there's gonna be some that I don't like, but that's the situation. I'm gonna keep reading it. I am watching Kingdom Hearts playthroughs because I'm just not feeling very well. I'm gonna keep reading and I will update you guys hopefully when I've gotten through it, unless I just stop. Who knows? I don't know. I have a lot of big books on this month's TBR and I feel like I already am failing. It's the second week in December and I've only finished one book and I feel bad because this is like the worst reading I've done since I started my booktube channel, which is crappy. And I don't know, I don't like it, but I think I just burned myself out. Like I went from barely reading to 230-ish area of books. So I think I don't know. Reading is like breathing, and that break where I didn't read for a couple years, like when I started reading again, it was like been missing something, and it was like discovering it again, which is why I was reading so much, because I was just devouring anything that I could because I'd missed reading so much. And I think that I just need a break, or needed a break, and I need to allow myself to slow down because I mean, I'm not going to stop reading anytime soon. And I don't need to be reading 20 to 30 books a month. Like I'm not required to do that. If I want to do that, cool, like I can let myself do that. But if I don't need to be like stressing it. And I need to let myself read when I want to read and focus on other things, because like the newest WoW expansion came out and I wanted to play it, but I was like trying to convince myself that I didn't want to play it so that I could still read and like that, not let that take time away. But I'm just like, I don't know. I have been playing, obviously, but I just need to allow myself to play it and like not feel bad that I'm not reading every second of every day, because I never want reading to be something that I don't enjoy. And if it becomes something that I don't enjoy, then I need to stop doing it, or stop forcing myself to do it, if that makes sense. Anyways, I've been rambling for no reason. I'm gonna go back to my laying in bed and reading and just resting. I always do this when I get sick. I make myself do stuff. I like force myself into overdrive when I get sick because I'm like, well, I can't not be productive. So I'm gonna go back to doing whatever. And good morning, guys. It is Wednesday morning and I'm still not at work. My partner and I are going to go to a testing center and get tested for COVID. I'm just gonna say, if I have it, I'm freaking pissed. Like, I interact with two people, my partner and my boss, and that's it. I don't go to the grocery store. I have everything delivered. Like, I do not interact with people, and I'm just, I'm angry. And I hope it's not COVID because I have animals in the house and there's just, but yeah. So that's the situation. I did start reading Dig yesterday and I didn't get very far in. And I'm like maybe 70 pages in and I don't know what's going on. Like everything's tying up, or it's coming together rather. The characters are starting to meet and their paths are starting to cross. I don't know. I don't get it. I'm gonna continue reading it, but it's weird. And I am not going to continue reading the Bane Chronicles for now. I'm putting it down for now. I'm going to continue reading throughout the month, but I'm like halfway through that. Right now I'm going to eat some breakfast, wait for my partner to get home. We're going to make our appointments and then we're going to go get tested. The company that my partner works for, they basically are like, if you go get tested, you have a mandatory 2 weeks off. Like there's, even if it's negative, like it doesn't matter, you have 2 weeks off, which is good. Like I'm glad that they do that. So yeah, I don't know as far as like how my boss is gonna respond to it, but we'll see. So I'm gonna go have my breakfast and I'll talk to you guys later. Hey guys, it is Thursday afternoon. I don't remember the last time I talked to you guys, but I am feeling better. I'm starting to get a headache again. I was having like body aches, sore throat, cough, and a headache, and I still have a sore throat and I'm coughing a little bit, but the headache went away for a while and now it's pretty much all coming back. So that's fun. We got our test this morning and now we're just waiting for the results. I started reading like a couple books at the same time. I don't know if I told you that I DNF'd Dig, but I DNF'd it at the 100-page mark or a little over 100 pages. I didn't like it. I'm still reading the Bane Chronicles. I am 215 pages in. I think I haven't read any since the last time I told you I was reading it, which is like the halfway point. I'm in the middle of a short story, but I just am not super interested in it right now. I'm also reading All the Ugly and Wonderful Things by Bryn Greenwood, which is kind of hard to talk about. So it's basically the relationship between I think he's 30-ish and she's 8. There's a lot about this that I can see people having issues with. Before I went into this book, I did some research into the author and she experienced something very similar to this, and this is very much based off of her own experiences. I can see how if you don't know that going in, this would look like justification for pedophilia and it would look like romanticization and sexualization of children. I can see that, but knowing what I know about the author, I can see how she would want to take something traumatic that happened to her and put a good or a nicer spin on it to kind of cope with going through something similar to what Wavy, the 8-year-old in this story, is going through. Wavy is 8. She's trying to raise her own brother. Her dad runs a heroin ring. Her mother is addicted to heroin, has gone through a lot of stuff. By no means am I saying this is good. This is definitely not okay. This isn't just taboo. This is the relationship between a grown man and a non-consenting child. And it's not okay. This is not some taboo dark romance that's cute and like gets your thrills going. This is, in my opinion, a survivor's attempt to take something really traumatic and make it okay. Do I think that she thinks what she went through is a bad thing? No, I don't think that she has processed what she went through in her head. This feels like what Vanessa from My Dark Vanessa, how she would have written the story before she came to terms with the abuse that she went through in that book. Because in My Dark Vanessa, Vanessa is abused and groomed by an adult at the age of 15. And through My Dark Vanessa, you are seeing her kind of figuring out that this relationship wasn't love and that it was abuse, and that the person that she thought loved her was not a good person and that they did terrible things to her. And I think that this is the author's way of taking something really traumatic and using a medium and doing something that she loves, writing, and trying to make it okay and trying to make it something less traumatic in her head. And there are a lot of things about this that I don't agree with. I definitely don't think that it was marketed the way that it should have been. The blurb on this is a beautiful and provocative love story. I don't agree with that. I don't think it should have been marketed as a romance at all. I don't think that they went about this the right way, but also I wish that there was a author's note that kind of describes what the author's intention behind it or why she wrote this book. If you listen to a lot of interviews with her, she says that she's been through similar things and that not everything is always as it seems, and this is trying to push the boundaries of like what you think is morally correct. And I know morally that I do not agree with the pedophilia. Like, that's not an okay thing for me. But she has been through something like that, and I think saying that she's a terrible person for writing this is victim blaming. I think it is taking away something that would make her feel better about the things that she went through, and I don't think that that's okay. I'm not enjoying this, and I'm only 67 pages in, and I can, you know, kind of see where this is going, but I understand more so why this was written, and I really cannot condemn her for writing it. So I'm gonna continue reading it, and I'm sure it's gonna be hard, and I'm sure it's gonna be uncomfortable and all that, but that's where I am with this. So before I started and I started reading a book that I probably won't read until I'm done with this, but I started reading Dark Lover, which is the first book in the Black Dagger Brotherhood series, which appears to be like a PNR, a paranormal romance series about vampires, and like the main core, like the main group of guys they follow are like warrior vampires. I am 47% of the way through. It's not great. I don't know when it was written, but at this point, I think we're like 19 books into the series, so I know like as it goes on, it gets better, so I'm kind of just waiting for it to get better. But I'm not hating it. I just know that like the further I get into this, the less I'm gonna want to read a romance, because that's how it happened with My Daughter Vanessa. Those are the things I'm reading, and that's the situation. I'm obviously out of work until I get my results and know what's going on, and so I'm kind of just at home hanging out. I will talk to you guys a little bit later on when I have some more things to say. Thursday, and I have finished All the Ugly and Wonderful Things by Bryn Greenwood. I think I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 5 stars. For all of the same reasons that I was talking about last time, I definitely don't think that this is a romance. I don't think that it was peddled in the right way. I don't think that the marketing for this is correct. The same opinions that I had in my last clip, I still agree with about like the author's trauma and things like that. The reason that I gave it 4 stars is because a lot of issues with the repetitive sequence of plots, like the same things happening over and over again, same conversations being had, things like that. About 70% of the way through, the book like
his whole job changed drastically
changed thematically, which just felt very odd. I think this is an important read, and I think before you go into this, you should do some research into the author and kind of understanding what the author's story is, because I think without context, I can understand why this would be uncomfortable or disturbing for some people. This is Editing Ashley popping in to say that the book is still horrible and disturbing, but what I meant was that the going in knowing the author's background might make you understand more why the book was written, and it not just make it seem like a disgusting romance story. But I think giving context to what the author has been through can help in your understanding of why this book was written. Right now, I don't really have the desire to read. Like, books like that were really draining. Like My Dark Vanessa, it took me a while to pick something up again because I just needed a second to like let it process and like get it out of my system. But I'm still going to finish Dark Lover and the Bane Chronicles, and then we will talk about what I'm gonna read next. So those are my thoughts on that book. I would recommend reading it if you haven't already and you can handle the topics that are discussed, because I do think that it's an important conversation and it's important to understand how trauma shows itself, I guess. But now I'm gonna do that huge stack of laundry that I have right there and probably just watch some YouTube videos. So I'll talk to you guys when I have read some other stuff, I guess. It is Friday night. I don't know what I told you last time we talked, but I finished Dark Lover by J.R. Ward today, and I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. This is like it is a staple PNR, paranormal romance series in like the genre, and I am 100% on board with continuing the series. I recognize that this is the first book in a very long series, so it's probably evolved and gotten better over time, so I'm not opposed to continuing at all. Like I would like to continue. This one was bad. The writing was very, I don't know how to describe the writing. Juvenile, felt very flat. The characters were all the same. The female character was like the stereotypical like virgin. She sees him, Wrath, and that's like it for her. And then she's like the stereotypical virgin, which there's multiple females in the series that are like the sweet and innocent type, and they're like praised for being the sweet and innocent type. All of the males were like carbon copies of each other. I don't know if we were supposed to like distinguish between each guy. Like I know they get their own books, like obviously like it's a big series, so they're all gonna get their own books, and like we're gonna be able to distinguish from them. We're gonna be able to distinguish them later on. But in this book, you couldn't have told me, if you'd have asked me like, what's the difference between Rage and Vicious? I would've been like, couldn't tell you. The main villain was just like a stereotypical villain. Like he fit all of the villain tropes. He said and did all of the villainous things. He wasn't anything spectacular. And there was like a guy that they bring into the friend group as the story goes on, and he was not a good person. Like, I did not like him at all. And I was hoping that he would end up being kicked out, or like the female main character would be like, stop coming around, like, I don't like you. And that never happened, and he actually gets up in the friend group and like gets his own mate, I guess. It wasn't, I did not like it. But I've heard from like book 3 on, it's really good. So I'm excited for that. And I picked up Bunny. This is another book that has been making its rounds on BookTube. All I know is it's weird, and it's about a girl who goes to a school. There's a clique of girls, and they call themselves the Bunnies, and there's like some weird stuff going on. I think there's like some sacrifices and just some weird things. So that's the deal with that. I'm gonna update you guys once I am further into Bunny. I've heard very mixed things. Some people have been like, it's weird, but a good weird, and some people are just like, it's weird for the sake of weirdness, but not in a good way. So I'll talk to you guys later. So it is Sunday morning, and last night I finished Bunny. So I gave it 3 stars, but what was the point? You know, like, it was not weird enough to be just a random pointless book, but it also was pointless. Does that make sense? I get the conversations about like poor versus rich, and you know, how people are treated in the education system and just by the world when they have money or they don't have money, etc. But like halfway through the book, the plot completely changes, and I don't get the point of the latter half of the book. So this is basically about this girl who she's an MFA student, and she goes to this school with a clique of girls that all call themselves Bunny. And they're really weird and like really selective, and they ignore her and they like dog her writing and stuff like that. And then one day she gets an invitation to go to one of their parties, and like weird stuff happens. And there's a lot of drug use, so you don't really know like if it's real or if it's the drugs or like what's going on. And then halfway through the book, it like changes from the cult and becomes something different. And it is weird. Some ritualistic things and like weird stuff with bunnies, and it's gruesome, but I just don't understand the point. The ending, I just don't get it. That was that. This is a beloved book. I get the hype. I get it's fantastically written. Mona Awad is talented. I just don't get why. Next, I think I am going to reread something, because next week I will be focusing on the high fantasy books that are on my TBR, and I really want to reread The Cruel Prince. It's a fast read, so I'm probably going to start that now, and I will update y'all later to wrap up this vlog. Alright guys, it is time to wrap up this reading vlog. I started the week by finishing Hollowpox: The Hunt for Morgan Crow, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. I read All the Ugly and Wonderful Things, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars. I read Dark Lover by J.R. Ward, which I gave 2 out of 5 stars. I DNF'd Dig by A.S. King. I finished Bunny by Mona Awad, which I gave 3 out of 5 stars. I got 215 pages into the Bane Chronicles, and I got 100 pages into Clockwork Prince by Holly Black. Next week, I plan on finishing Cruel Prince and the Bane Chronicles, and I would also like to read the more high fantasy stories that are on my TBR for the month. So that is The Dragon Keeper, Elantris, and Mistborn. Oh, and The Name of the Wind. I hope you liked this video. Comment down below your thoughts on any of the books that I read this week or what you read this week. I would love to know. But other than that, I will catch you guys in my next video. Thanks so much.